So this week, what we chose to talk about was we actually just didn't fit it in last week. We were supposed to talk about it last week, and we just didn't quite get it fitted in. So we're going to talk this week about pirate maps and shark habits, and we're kind of doffing our cap here to Dan John and Pat Flynn, who they did a podcast on this. You entered their competition about it, and lo and behold, Emma won the competition and won this great book by Dan John, 40 Years with a Whistle. And just by chance, I met him and I spent a weekend with him the weekend after she did that, and he has signed it and said, "You have a great friend in Gareth," which is really cool. But he's also written about how good well, he spent the weekend with him. He knows it really well. So over to Emma, because she's the expert on this, to explain basically what is a shark habit and what is a pirate map. If we can just go through that, so people are kind of like.
Okay, so let's start with the pirate map, because that's something that's obviously what won me the book in the first place. So a pirate map is it's a set of habits, consistent habits. So you may think about sort of goal setting exercises, which we talked about last week. So we talked about knowing your why behind the goal and motivation to what puts you towards achieving your goal. So the pirate map is basically a set of habits, daily habits, weekly habits, monthly habits that take you from where you are now to the goal, to your treasure.
To the treasure. Yeah. In a pirate map.
And I've drawn it on a map here. So wherever you are now, here's your treasure. That will be the goal, the end goal in mind. And it's a set of steps you can do daily, weekly, monthly that take you towards that treasure, towards your goal. Cool. So yeah, it's stuff that can keep you motivated throughout. Yeah.
So if I can explore that a little further. So what we're saying is, like, apparently the weekend we just gone was the biggest weekend for people giving up on their New Year's resolutions. And one of the problems that I think people have there is they set a big goal, a big task, without these either little steps or habits that help you achieve the goal.
Exactly.
So that's what
a pirate map is designed to do. Okay, it's to sort of say, well, I've got a big goal in mind, and you've written them down. We talked last week about specific, also SMART goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, and time relevant, those kinds of things. But it's going beyond that goal and going, okay, well, actually, how am I going to achieve the goal that I have in mind? And that pirate map is the way of doing that. Yeah, and we actually gave a talk on this last year, didn't we? And I've definitely started to get to a stage where I no longer particularly like sitting with people in January and kind of go through the whole goal setting procedure. I find this a much better. I find this much more purposeful. Absolutely. And with a much better success rate of actually getting. We're going to talk about five habits that help you achieve your goal. Yeah. So we're gonna kind of go through each other's 5 habits, but I just find this a better way of doing it, rather than kind of setting this one big goal and then kind of checking in with you again in a few months. Right, have you done that? Have you given up smoking? Have you done whatever it is? We're going to look at our 5 sort of healthy habits that help us achieve those things, and also the shark habits, which kind of are the 5. They are the. So they're sort of slightly different in that the shark habits are things that you can do every day. So the idea of the shark habit is that one bite and it's done type of exercises.
Right. So i.e., when you say, can you go for coffee on Friday, and I go, I'll get back to you on Wednesday. Right, okay. So that is not a shark habit. I'm having 2 bites of it because I've got to return to it later. Yeah. The idea of the shark habit is done. I can't be there, Emma, I'm sorry. Or which I've always struggled with. Or yes, I'll be there. Or maybe the worst one, maybe, because you know that ain't going to happen. So we can
explore those ones a little bit later. I'm going to go through. Yeah. We can go through the pirate map first, and then we can talk about some sort of good habits or good shark habits that might help.
Okay, good. So I've kind of got my 5, Now I wrote this up last year before I'd used the terminology of the pirate map. I'd just gone for how I achieve my goals, and mine is through sticking to these kind of five habits that I have that I do daily, which for me is really easy. Like, I spent 23 years in the military. Now, in training, it was kind of drummed into us, our daily habits. They were drummed into us. You get up, you have to have a shave. There's no, you have to do that. So I'm very used to discipline and habits, and I really like that structure to keep me doing things the way I do them and achieve my goals. So for me, I find it easy, and I think it's a really helpful structure to help you achieve what you're going to do. So if we take a look at, do you want to start going through your? I know you've got some really good. And one thing I'd like to talk about on this is we kind of, just as we met before we started doing this, looked at. You said you changed yours.
I've changed mine. So last year when I wrote my pirate map, it revolved around a specific set of goals. My goals at that time were to achieve my full potential as a weightlifter, while trying to navigate the ins and outs of running a new business. I think that was the goal that I wrote down in the pirate map. And so in order to achieve that, I'd written down a set of specific daily and weekly habits. My goals have now changed. Not that I don't want to reach my full potential as a weightlifter, but my goals now are much more revolving around looking after my general health and well-being. So I think that took a bit of a hit last year. And I think actually, so reflecting on what I've achieved last year and where I'm going forwards, actually just generally looking after my general health and well-being, moving towards what we would call a perfect day. So we've sat down and done this exercise as well as to what do I enjoy doing in a day? How do I want to spend my day, my week, my month, my year? And trying to put myself in the right direction to do those things. Actually, a lot of my habits have not changed, but some of them have. So I can go through each one.
Okay, come on. Let's hear Emma's 5. So here we
number
go.
1, I've actually got 7. Number 1.
Okay, so if I go 5.
All right. So number 1, get up at 7 a.m. every day. That one hasn't changed actually, although I am sticking to it a lot better. So it is now up on my wall in my office. Get up at 7 a.m. every day. Rather than saying a go to bed time, it actually, by knowing that you've got to get up at 7 a.m. every day, you then go to bed earlier because you know that you're going to stick to that habit. Because you've already achieved the goal at 7 a.m. in the morning, that's a really good one to have rather than going to bed at 7 o'clock.
It's something I learned reasonably recently, was rather than set the time you're going to bed, if you get up the same time every day, then you're punishing yourself if you don't go the frick to bed at the right time. So by getting up at the same time every day, you're not missing out on the day for the fact you kind of like were staying up doing emails or whatever too late.
Exactly.
By
the way, I know that 7 a.m. is probably it's quite late for some of you 6 a.m.ers out there, but 7 a.m. is a good target for me since I don't train at 6 a.m.
Okay, so there we go. First one I like, it's good.
Next one is spend 5 minutes on neck nods and rolling patterns before I go to my home office to work every day. Previously, last year, that was spend 5 minutes doing imagery and self-talk for the platform. So that's where things have started to change a little bit. I now know that I've got a little bit less time to train. I want to be spending a lot more time working on business, things like that. And so actually, and I also know I've got this movement dysfunctions that mean that neck nods and rolling patterns are really important to me. So spending 5 minutes, that is kind of a sharp habit, is do it and get it done in the morning. So get that out of the way, and then I've kind of done the work. It means I can come back to it later as well.
Yeah, so the hat gets doffed here to Tim Anderson, right? So Tim Anderson, who read his book quite recently, within the last year, Pressing Reset, I believe, on how to reset the body. So basically, you're doing a daily reset there of going through. He has this sort of evolution of movement patterns, which start with the neck nods in the morning to stimulate the vestibular system. That goes into and it follows the movements of a human as it learns to move head and control head first into rocks. So you start kind of like rocking, moving backwards and forwards, and then sort of going along towards crawling patterns. patterns.
crawling patterns, and then half kneeling and then standing patterns. But actually, as it turns out, I still struggle with some of the rolling patterns right from the very basics. So it's actually important for me to do those things.
Yeah. Okay. So you know that I really like that one.
Yeah.
I think that's
That's
great.
number 2. So number 3 is actually go into my home office to work and close the door at the end of each day. So this then avoids me kind of using the kitchen table, the lounge, and sort of never actually having a cut off from the end of my work day. I've actually found that one really difficult to do. So it is on my list of things to do. Actually, just setting myself an environment one where I can work and actually switch off and walk away from it at the end of the day.
I guess a lot of people have that problem. The work from home people who your home becomes your workspace, and then the boundaries get blurred between what is work,
and it's the same when we're in the gym, right, as well. Yeah. So when when you're coaching and training, having that sort of like dedicating a slot to train, for example, is actually really important. There's something separate. So you're sort of separating a little bit from
okay, yeah, I like that. That's good. So sort of compartmentalising where you work. When you're in there, you're working. When you're not, you are not working. You are doing like home stuff, relaxing, whatever. Okay, cool.
So I'm going to go with. So I'm going to say we'll train consistently, follow an engaging program. Again, so that's something that's not that difficult for me. As long as I've got a program to follow, I kind of like to know what the plan is. So as long as I'm doing that, then I find it pretty engaging. But it's to get consistent exercise in. And actually, part of training involves nutrition and sleep as well. So that sort of is one holistic package.
Okay, I like that. I definitely don't have training in my 5. And the reason I don't have it in the 5 because it's like an absolute given to me. Like I will train. It is so much part of my life that I kind of like. It's
not
just
even a consideration.
It's not.
For me,
and you put down follow an engaging program. So if you can just like elaborate on what makes an engaging program for you.
Well, so obviously in the past it's been an engaging weightlifting program, something that I know has got structure. I know that I can see progression. But actually, that could be jumping in, knowing that I'm going to hit the 12 p.m. class every day, or knowing that I'm going to go and follow Dan John's program. As long as I know what I'm doing, and I know that I'm going to see good, like move better, feel better, structure to it. It's not just randomised exercise. I want to know that I'm following something I'm going to keep engaged with, and I've got a long-term plan. Whatever my goal is, and actually my goal is still weightlifting. So for me, I'm still following a weightlifting program.
Okay.
And then so let's leave it at number 5 then. So the last one I'm going to say is at the end of every day, write down tomorrow's task list, prep my food portions and my clothes. I always lay my clothes out for the next day, and then clean my desk in my office and clean the kitchen. Just at least wipe down the surfaces before I go to bed.
So that when you get up the next day, you don't play catch up.
Exactly, it's done. It's another one of those shark habits. You do it now, do it at the end of the day, and then when you get up, you've already accomplished some tasks for the day.
Yeah, again, I would put that one back to kind of my military training. You just don't go to bed until you have sorted your crap out from the day before, because otherwise you start your day. The start of the next day, you are chasing your tail, kind of like putting right what you couldn't be bothered to do the day before. I have quite a similar one